I'm sitting in the cafe watching Lucy show up a full hour late. It's the first date we've had in our 5 years of marriage. Well, actually, it's just my one-sided invitation. Sorry, Daniel, there was a problem at work. Lucy rushes in and sits down, not even bothering to take off her coat. I look at her furrowed brows and feel that familiar wave of disappointment. 5 years and every important moment, there's an emergency. On our wedding day, she took 3 work calls. When I took Brian for his vaccines, she was on a business trip. When Brian said dad for the first time, she was in a meeting. It's okay, I whisper. I've gotten used to this routine. Lucy orders a coffee and checks her phone for messages. I look at her face reflected in the screen's glow. I remember the girl from 5 years ago who would play guitar and sing love songs for me. She used to stay up late helping me with projects, take off work to care for me when I was sick, and drive 2 hours just for a hug. Now, she doesn't even see me sitting right in front of her. Lucy, I call softly. She mumbles, not even looking up. I want to talk to you, I say. Is something up? She finally puts her phone down and looks at me. There's a professional patience in her gaze, like I'm just another client to appease. I take a deep breath. I want a divorce. The air seems to freeze for a moment. Lucy blinks, like she didn't quite catch what I said. What did you say? I said, let's get a divorce. I try to stay calm, but my voice trembles. I've practiced saying this a million times in my head, but it still hurts like hell to say it out loud. Lucy puts her phone down, for the first time really paying attention to me. Daniel, are you kidding? I'm not joking, I reply, pulling out the divorce papers I'd prepared. I've thought it through. She takes the papers, flipping through them quickly. Her face changes. Why? We were doing fine. Fine. She actually said we were doing fine. Lucy, I continue, when was the last time we really talked? She hesitates, clearly trying to remember. Do you know what Brian's favorite toy is? Do you know he's afraid of thunder? Do you know he asks every night when mom and dad will be home? Each question strikes her like a knife. I've been busy, she defends. You're always busy, I interrupt. Busy enough to forget our anniversary, miss every moment of Brian's childhood, to treat our home like a hotel. Lucy places the papers on the table, reaching for my hand. I gently pull away. Daniel, I know I've messed up, but we can work on this. 5 years, Lucy, I shake my head. I've waited 5 years. You've been saying we'd change, but nothing has. Her face turns pale. What about Brian? He's still so little. Brian stays with me, I answer. I've thought about it. He needs a parent who truly cares. The cafe softly plays music. Couples whisper around us. And at our table lay divorce papers. Lucy stays quiet for so long that I think she's accepted it. Finally, she asks, can you give me some time? Time? I laugh bitterly. Lucy, I've given you 5 years. Getting up, I pick up my bag. Look over the agreement. If you have questions, we can talk. But I want this done quickly. Walking out of the cafe, the spring sun hits my face. I finally feel a sense of freedom. Yes, I'm getting a divorce. Starting today, I'm living for myself. Back home, Brian is building with Legos in the living room. Dad. He runs into my arms, colliding with me in a tight hug. Hey buddy, have you been good? I kiss his cheek. Yeah. Mr. Lee said mom's coming home early today. Is that true? Brian's wide-eyed gaze catches me. My heart aches. Mr. Lee, our helper, steps out from the kitchen. Daniel, Lucy called to say she has a dinner meeting and will be late. Brian's hopeful expression fades. Another dinner? He mutters. I kneel, hugging him. How about Dad keeps you company? We can build a castle together. Okay. Brian's eyes brighten again. Kids are like that, easily pleased, easily let down. We spread the Legos across the carpet. Brian earnestly shows me the purpose of each piece. This is the king's place, and this is where the knights live. They play together every day. What if the queen's never home? I probe. Brian thinks for a moment. Then the king just plays alone, 'cause kings are strong too. His words hit home. Yes, the king can be strong. He doesn't need an absent queen. By 10 p.m., Lucy still hasn't returned. I bathe Brian, read stories, and tuck him in. Throughout it all, he doesn't mention his mom. He's used to it. used to her absence, used to having only Dad around. This normalcy hurts and reinforces my decision to divorce. Brian deserves better. A loving, present parent. Past midnight, I hear the door. Lucy enters quietly, smelling of alcohol. Still up? She asks, surprised. Waiting for you. I close my book. We need to talk about Brian. She hesitates, then nods. Let me shower. 15 minutes later, she sits across from me. About Brian, she starts. He stays with me. I cut in. You can see him twice a month. Daniel, is this fair to him? Lucy argues. He needs his mother. What he needs is a mom who really cares about him. I look at her. Not just a stranger who's constantly on business trips and falls asleep as soon as she gets home. I'm his mom. She raises her voice. Then tell me, who's his best friend? What's he most afraid of? What's his dream? Lucy opens her mouth but can't speak. You see, you don't know anything. In his heart, you're just a visitor who shows up occasionally. Her face turns pale. I can change. You've said that too many times. I shake my head. I don't want to hear it anymore. The living room falls silent. The clock on the wall ticks away, like our gradually cooling marriage. If I really change, her voice is soft. I look at her, this woman who once captured my heart. Lucy, some things once broken can't be fixed. I say this and head to the bedroom. I hear a long sigh behind me. This might be our last deep conversation. Starting tomorrow will be something else. Ex-husband and ex-wife, parents to a kid. That's it. The next morning, Lucy shockingly didn't leave. Brian sees his mom at the table and almost spills his milk in surprise. Mom, you're not going to work today? No, I'm spending time with Brian. Lucy forces a smile. I'm in the kitchen making breakfast. Hearing this, my hands slightly tremble. Is this her last effort? Awesome. Mom, can you take me to the science museum? Dad said they have big dinosaur skeletons there. Brian claps excitedly. Of course. Lucy looks at me. Dad, you want to come too? I walk out with sandwiches. I have some things to take care of. Dad, Brian pouts. Seeing my son's disappointed face, I soften. All right, but just for half a day. The science museum is packed, full of families with kids. Brian jumps ahead, holding our hands. Mom, Dad, let's take a picture. He points at a planet backdrop. Lucy immediately grabs her phone. Come on, get in position. The photo makes us look like a happy family of 3. Anyone who doesn't know would think we're loving. But it's just a facade. Mom, I want to play that one. Brian points at a flight simulator. Sure, Mom will go with you. Watching Lucy carefully buckle him in, I feel a little lost. What if she's always like this? What if she realized the importance of family earlier? But there are no what ifs. Dad, what are you thinking? Brian waves from the simulator. I snap back and wave at him. Dad's just watching Brian have fun. I'm so happy. Both Mom and Dad are here. Lucy's eyes are complicated as she looks at me after hearing that. I avoid her gaze. At lunch, we eat at the museum's restaurant. Brian goes on excitedly about what he did and saw. Mom, can you be with me more often? He suddenly asks. Lucy puts down her fork. Of course, Mom will be with Brian more from now on. Really? His eyes shine. Really? I bitterly smile inside. Another promise. She's always been good at making promises but not keeping them. On the way home, Brian falls asleep in the back seat. It's just Lucy and my breathing in the car. Did you have fun today? She asks me. Brian was very happy, I reply. And you? I stay silent. Happy? Of course, seeing my son happy makes me happy. But this happiness is bittersweet, knowing it won't happen again. Daniel, can't we try again? Her voice is soft. Lucy, do you think a day's change can make up for 5 years of indifference? She doesn't answer. At a red light, I look outside at the hurried pedestrians. Everyone's rushing for their own lives, seeking their own happiness. And I should work for my happiness too. Have you looked at the agreement? Ask. I have. Her voice is quieter. You thought of everything. Then sign it soon. The car moves again, and neither of us speaks. Brian sleeps soundly in the back, clutching the dinosaur toy we bought today. He doesn't know this might be our last outing as a family of 3. Some things adults don't tell kids, but they always figure it out as they grow. Hopefully, when he does, he'll understand Dad's choice today. At night, after his bath, Brian gets Lucy to tell him a story. Mom, can you tell the Ultraman story? Okay. Lucy sits by the bed, clumsily flipping through the book. She rarely tells Brian stories. I've always done that. In the distant M78 nebula, there's a hero called Ultraman. I stand at the door hearing her stumbling voice, feeling complex emotions. If she acted like this sooner. If she was more involved in Brian's life. But it's too late. Dad, come in and listen to. Brian spots me. I enter the room, sitting on the other end of the bed. The family of 3 gathered around the bed, warm as a fairy tale scene. Then Ultraman defeated the monster and saved the Earth. Lucy finishes. Did the Ultraman family live happily ever after? Brian asks. Yes, happily ever after. Lucy glances at me. Will our family always be together too? The air goes still. Lucy and I exchange a glance, unsure how to respond. Of course. Lucy finally says, Mom and Dad will always love Brian. Notice she doesn't say we'll always be together, just that we love him. A skillful answer, not a lie, not leaving the kid worried. Brian nodded in satisfaction. All right, now I can sleep peacefully. He closed his eyes and quickly drifted off to sleep. Lucy and I tiptoed out of the room. When are we going to tell him? She asked me. Once everything's finalized, I replied. He's too young to understand now. What if he asks? We'll just say Mom and Dad need to live apart for a while. I thought it through. He'll understand more as he gets older. Lucy nodded, looking somber. I went back to the master bedroom and started packing. Though we're not officially divorced yet, I've decided to move out for now. Pretending to be happy under the same roof is exhausting. You're moving out? Lucy stood at the doorway. Yeah, I continued folding clothes. I've rented a place. What about Brian? He'll come with me. She paused for a moment. His preschool, I'll transfer him to one near the new place. Daniel, she came in, you don't have to rush. We can always… Lucy. I stopped and looked at her. Since we decided to separate, let's not drag it out. It's not good for anyone. She stood there watching me pack item after item into the suitcase. These clothes, some she bought for me, and some we'd picked out together while shopping. Every single one holds memories. But now, they're just things that need to be packed away. Can I see Brian on the weekends? She asked. Of course, I closed the suitcase. You're his mother. That won't change. What about you? She suddenly asked. Will I see you? I paused for a moment. We'll just be Brian's parents. Other than that, we're strangers, right? She finished with a sad smile. I didn't reply, but my silence was telling. I understand. She turned and left the room. I heard the sound of a wine bottle opening in the living room. She was drinking again. Whenever she felt stressed or upset, she'd drink alone. I tried talking to her about it before, but it was no use. Now, how much she drinks is no longer my concern. I continued packing our 5 years of marriage into a few boxes. It'd be a lie to say I'm not saddened by this. But sometimes choosing to end things takes courage too. For Brian and for myself. Outside the window, the night was calm, and the city's lights were still shining. Tomorrow, Brian and I would begin a new life in a new place. No disappointment, no waiting. Just the warmth of us being together. Maybe, just maybe, that's a good thing too. The next day was Saturday, and I had planned to take Brian to see the new apartment. But Lucy wanted to come with us. I want to see where Brian will be living, she said. I didn't refuse. The new place was in the city center, a 2-bedroom, 1 living room unit, nicely decorated. Wow, it's so beautiful, Brian exclaimed, running around excitedly as soon as we entered. Do you like it, Brian? I asked him. Yes. Is that room mine? He pointed to the 2nd bedroom. Yes, that's Brian's secret base. Brian happily dashed into the room, starting to plan his little world. Lucy stood in the living room, examining every corner closely. The decorations are nice, she said. The safety measures are well thought out too. Yeah, I replied simply. Is it far from his new preschool? Not far. 10-minute walk. She nodded and went to check the balcony. The view is nice, and there's plenty of natural light. I joined her on the balcony. The cityscape was in full view. Mom, look, you can see so many buildings from here. Brian ran over and grabbed Lucy's hand. Yes, it's beautiful. She knelt down and hugged him. Brian's going to be happy here. Will Mom come to see me? Of course, Mom will visit often. Brian kissed her cheek. Delighted. Watching this, my emotions were all over the place. If only she had realized the importance of family sooner, maybe we wouldn't be here. Dad, when do we move in? Brian asked. Next week, I said. Brian needs to say goodbye to his old preschool friends. I have to say goodbye to my friends then. Brian seemed reluctant. It's okay. You'll make new friends at the new preschool. Really? Really? After leaving the new apartment, we went to a nearby mall to buy some essentials for Brian. The mall was packed with weekend shoppers. Seeing other families laughing and chatting together, I felt a pang of irony. We were a family of 3 too, but here we were, preparing for a separation. Dad, I want this Ultraman. Brian pointed to a model in the toy store. All right, let's get it. Lucy offered to pay. The shop assistant smiled at us and said, You guys make a lovely couple, and your kid is adorable. Lucy and I didn't explain anything. Mom, can we get ice cream? Brian suggested. Sure. We sat in the ice cream shop while Brian selected his flavor carefully. I want chocolate. All right, 1 chocolate for Brian, Lucy told the server. What about you guys? The server asked. Vanilla for me, I said. Vanilla for me too, Lucy added. Brian was happily swinging his legs while eating his ice cream. Mom and Dad, do you both like the same thing because you like the same stuff? Lucy and I exchanged a look. Once upon a time, we did have many common interests. We liked the same movies, the same music, the same food. But when did we stop knowing what each other liked? Yes, Lucy answered Brian, because we both like sweet flavors. Then I like sweet flavors too, Brian said happily. Seeing his innocent smile, I silently prayed. I hoped he could always stay this pure and happy. I hoped our separation wouldn't leave a mark on him. Mom, will you play with me again tomorrow? Brian suddenly asked. Lucy glanced at me. Mom has to go to the office to handle something tomorrow. Brian's smile suddenly faded. But next Saturday, Mom will definitely spend time with Brian. Okay? She added. Okay. Brian cheered up again. Kids are like that, they're easily comforted and forget disappointment just as quickly. But I know too many letdowns can make a child slowly stop expecting anything. Just like me. On Monday, I took Brian to the kindergarten to handle his transfer paperwork. Is Brian leaving? The teacher looked a bit surprised. Yes, we're moving. I explained briefly. Brian has always done well here, and the teachers really like him. Thank you for taking good care of him. After finishing up the paperwork, Brian reluctantly said goodbye to his friends. Judy, I'm leaving, but we're still friends, right? Yes. Brian, you have to miss me. Watching the kids and their pure friendship, I felt a twinge of sadness. Because of our decision, Brian has to say goodbye to the environment and friends he's used to. Daddy, I'm gonna miss this place, Brian said on the way home. I know, buddy, but the new kindergarten will be fun too. Will Mom move to the new house too? He suddenly asked. I was taken aback. Mom has her own place. Why doesn't Mom live with us? Because I wasn't sure how to explain. Mom's work is busy, and she needs to be close to her office. Brian nodded, sort of understanding. Does Mom still love us? Of course she does. Mom loves Brian the most. Then why don't we live together? Aren't people who love each other supposed to be together? Kids' questions are always so direct, impossible to dodge. Brian, sometimes adults have their own arrangements, but love doesn't go away just because we don't live together. He thought about it. Like me and Judy, even if we're not in the same kindergarten, we're still friends, right? Exactly, that's it. When we got home, Lucy was on a phone call in the living room. She quickly wrapped it up when she saw us. Did the transfer paperwork go through? She asked. Yeah. I said, Brian's feeling a bit sad about it. Brian. Lucy crouched down and hugged him. The new kindergarten will be even more fun. I promise. Really? Brian's eyes lit up. Really, when has Mom ever lied to Brian? Brian laughed happily. That night, I was packing the last of our things when I heard the doorbell. Lucy went to answer it. It was my best friend, Paul. Is Daniel home? He sounded a bit urgent. Yeah. Lucy stepped aside to let him in. Paul walked into the living room and saw me packing. His expression changed. Are you really moving out? Yeah. I nodded. Paul's a lawyer and he helped with the divorce papers. He's been supportive, but seeing everything packed up, he seemed kind of worried. Where's Brian? He asked. Playing in his room. I want to talk to you alone. Paul glanced at Lucy. Lucy took the hint and said, I'll go work in the study. After she left, Paul sat next to me. Daniel, are you sure about this? I'm sure. I kept folding clothes. I've thought about it for a long time. But just now, Lucy seemed really concerned about you leaving. I paused. Paul, are you trying to talk me out of the divorce? I'm not telling you not to divorce. Paul shook his head. I just think maybe you guys could talk it over again. 5 years, we've talked countless times. I smiled wryly. And the result? Still the same. But people change. Maybe she really gets it now. Maybe. I shrugged. But I don't want to gamble anymore. Paul looked at me. You know, a lot of guys envy you. A successful wife, a lovely kid, a comfortable life. Well, if they want it, they can have it. I half joked. Daniel, I'm serious. Paul grasped my hand. Marriage is tough, and if there's a chance to save it, Paul. I interrupted him. You know how I've spent these past 5 years? I know it's been tough for you. Not tough. I shook my head. More like hopeless. When you become completely disappointed in someone, you don't expect anything anymore. Paul stayed silent. I've already given up once. I continued, I don't want to go through that again. He looked at me, a bit of sympathy in his eyes. And Brian? He'll lose a whole family. A complete family isn't just 2 adults under one roof. I cut in, it's 2 people who love each other and their child. We stopped being a complete family a while ago. Just then, Brian ran out of his room. Uncle Paul. He rushed to Paul. Brian. Paul picked him up. Did you miss Uncle? I did. Uncle Paul, we're moving to a new house. Really? Are you happy about it? Happy. The new house is amazing. I can see lots of big buildings. Watching Brian's excitement, Paul's expression was complicated. Maybe he understood, for Brian, home is wherever his dad is. On moving day, the weather was great. The movers finished up quickly. Lucy was helping the whole time, even though I said she didn't need to. Mom, are you coming to the new house with us? Brian asked. I'll help you settle in, then I'll go back. Lucy knelt and touched his head. Why not stay? Because Mom has work to do. Brian looked a bit let down but nodded anyway. The new house was set up quickly. I put up his favorite superhero decals in Brian's room and arranged his toys. Dad, this place is awesome. Brian bounced on the bed. As long as you like it. I chuckled. Lucy checked the utilities in the living room, making sure everything worked. If there's any issue, call me anytime. She told me. All right. She checked the locks and windows. Security is pretty good, but still be careful at night. I know. After finishing all this, it was already afternoon. Is Mommy leaving now? Brian held onto her hand. Yes, but Mommy will come to see Brian this weekend. Can Mommy play with me for a while now? Of course. They were building Lego in the living room while I was in the kitchen preparing dinner. Through the kitchen door, I could see their focused faces. It'd be great if it could always be like this. But now, saying that doesn't mean anything. Once dinner was ready, I called them over to eat. Wow, Dad made cola chicken wings. Brian clapped happily. And Brian's favorite steamed eggs. I scooped some rice for him. Thank you, Dad. Lucy also sat down but didn't look like she had much appetite. Not to your taste? I asked. No. She shook her head. It smells good. But she still ate very little. Brian chatted with us while eating, and the atmosphere was quite harmonious. Mommy, do you have such delicious food at your house too? He suddenly asked. Lucy paused. Mommy usually eats out. That's not tasty, right? Brian frowned. Outside food doesn't taste as good as Dad's. Yeah, it's not as good as Dad's. She glanced at me. After dinner, She volunteered to help clean the dishes. I can do it, I said. It's okay. I'll help you. We washed dishes in the kitchen just like before. But our feelings were completely different now. Daniel, she suddenly started. Yeah. If I could change, would there still be a chance for us? I paused my actions. Lucy, some things I've repeated too many times. I know you don't believe me now, she continued, but I am serious. Your seriousness is too late. I continued washing the dishes, and besides, I don't need it anymore. She was silent for a long time. I understand, she finally said. After dishes, she said goodbye to Brian. Brian, Mommy is leaving. Be a good boy and listen to Daddy. Okay. Goodbye, Mommy. Brian kissed her cheek. Goodbye. She hugged him, her eyes a bit teary. I walked her to the door. It was the last time we stood face to face. Take care of yourself, she said, and Brian too. I will. I'll sign the agreement tomorrow. I nodded thanks. She turned and walked away, her steps a bit heavy. I closed the door and leaned against it, letting out a long breath. Finally, we're officially separating. Dad, did Mommy leave? Brian walked over. She's gone. She looked a bit sad. Kids always notice things. Adults sometimes get sad too, I said. But that's not something Brian should worry about. So what do we do now? How about we watch cartoons? Okay. We sat on the couch watching cartoons, with Brian leaning against me. The first night in our new home, just the two of us, father and son. But that's all right too. Very quiet, very warm. No waiting, no disappointment. Just each other's company. A week later, the divorce papers were officially signed. When Lucy and I parted ways at the Civil Affairs Bureau, we were both calm. If there's anything about Brian, contact me anytime, she said. Sure. And if you have any difficulties, I'll handle them, I interrupted her. She nodded and turned toward the parking lot. I stood there watching her back, feeling no relief I imagined. Just a sense that a chapter of life had ended completely. From today on, I'm single Dad Daniel. No longer Lucy's husband. Back home, Brian was drawing with the nanny. Dad, look at the dinosaur I drew. He held up the paper for me to see. It's great. I praised him with a smile. He didn't know what happened today in his world. Everything was still the same. That night, I got a call from Paul. Is it all done? He asked. Yeah, it's done. How are you feeling? All right, I said, calmer than I imagined. That's good. Paul paused. Daniel, I support your decision. Thanks. If you need help with anything, you know where to find me. Okay. After the call, I bathed Brian and put him to bed. Dad, how come Mommy didn't call today? He asked. Mommy might be busy, I said. But tomorrow is the weekend, she'll come to see Brian. Really? Really? Brian closed his eyes contentedly. I sat beside his bed, watching his sleeping face. This little angel is the most precious gift in my life. For him, I can endure any hardships. The next day was Saturday, and Lucy came right on time to pick up Brian. Mommy! Brian rushed towards her. Did Brian miss Mommy? She hugged him. Yes. Where are you taking me today? How about the zoo? Sure. As they were leaving, Brian looked back at me. Dad, aren't you coming? Daddy has things to do, I said. Brian, go with Mommy and tell Daddy what animals you saw tonight. Okay. Watching them leave, I sat on the couch, lost in thought for a while. This was the first weekend after the divorce. From now on, it'll be like this, Brian with his mom on weekends, with me during the week. I grabbed a sketch pad and started designing. Work always distracts me from my worries. At 3 p.m., I got a call from Lucy. Brian has a fever, her voice was tense. I'm taking him to the hospital now. I immediately stood up. Is it serious? His temperature is 101.3 degrees Fahrenheit and he vomited once. I'll be right there. I hurried to the hospital and found them in the pediatric clinic. Brian looked listless in Lucy's arms, his face flushed red. Daddy, he saw me and reached out his little hand. Sweetie, I gently touched his forehead. Still feel bad? A little, he said softly. The doctor said it's acute gastroenteritis and he'd need N4. Probably something he ate at the zoo wasn't clean, the doctor said. I glanced at Lucy, she looked pale. I'm sorry, she said. I didn't take good care of him. Now's not the time for that, I said, picking up Brian. Let's focus on getting him better. In the infusion room, Brian lay on the hospital bed. Lucy and I sat on either side of him. Dad, am I sick? Brian asked. Yes, but you'll get better soon. I held his little hand. So, can I go to the new kindergarten tomorrow? You can go once you're all better. Okay. He obediently closed his eyes. The infusion would take 3 hours. Lucy and I took turns looking after him. I'll go get some porridge, Lucy said. He'll need something to eat when he wakes up. Sure. After she left, I stayed by Brian's side. Watching the slow drip of the fluid through the floor made me suddenly feel very tired. Raising a kid alone isn't easy. What if Brian falls sick? Could I handle it by myself? Lucy returned soon, holding a thermal container. I got some plain porridge and some dumplings, she said. His favorite. Yeah. Brian woke up and ate some porridge. He seemed a bit more spirited. Dad, I want to go home, he said. We'll go home soon, I reassured him. After the infusion, we returned to my new place. I'll head out after seeing you both back, Lucy said. No need for that, I said, holding Brian. You've had a long day too. I want to make sure he's okay before I leave. I didn't argue. After Brian had a bath, I took his temperature. It had dropped to just over 37 degrees. I was relieved. Okay, now I can rest easy, Lucy said, standing up. I'm leaving now. Bye, Mom, Brian said, still a bit weak. But he waved goodbye. Bye, sweetheart. At the door, she suddenly said, Daniel, thank you for not blaming me today. He's our child, I replied. It's our responsibility to take care of him. She nodded, a mix of emotions in her eyes. I'll be more careful in the future. I know. After she left, I returned to Brian's room. He was already asleep, breathing steadily. I sat by the bed for a long time, thinking about everything that had happened today. Maybe the choices we made back then were right. At least now we can still get along for Brian. That's something. A month later, our new lives gradually got back on track. Brian adapted well to his new kindergarten and made new friends. I also picked up some design projects. Life was busy but fulfilling. One afternoon, while sketching in my studio, I got a call from his kindergarten teacher. Daniel, Brian's been crying all afternoon and just can't be consoled. My heart tightened. What happened? It seems he got into a conflict with some other kids. He's been saying he wants his mom and dad. I'm on my way. When I arrived at the kindergarten, Brian sat in the corner of the classroom, eyes red. Brian. I kneeled down and hugged him. Dad. He burst into tears again in my arms. What happened, sweetie? Mike said I don't have a mom, he sobbed. She said my mom doesn't want me anymore. A wave of anger hit me, but I patiently consoled him. Brian, your mom absolutely wants you. She loves you very much. Then why doesn't mom live with us? He looked up at me. Why do other kids get both their parents to pick them up, and I only have you? This was a question I'd eventually have to face. I just didn't think it would come so soon. Brian, even though we don't live together, both mom and dad love you very much. I tried to explain in terms he could understand. It's like having lots of toys. Some are in one room, some are in another, but you like them all, right? Brian thought for a moment and nodded. That's how it is with mom and dad. Even though we live in different places, our love for you is the same. Can I stay at mom's house? Of course. Mom will pick you up on weekends. Brian finally smiled through his tears. On the way home, I messaged Lucy about what happened. She called back quickly. Is Brian okay? She asked. He's calmed down, I said. But I think we need to have a proper talk with him. You mean about the divorce? He's already sensing it, I said. Better he hears it from us than imagining things on his own. Okay, I'll come over tonight. No need, I replied. Tomorrow's the weekend. You can tell him when you pick him up. All right. The next day, Lucy arrived on time. The three of us sat in the living room, the atmosphere a bit tense. Brian, Mom and Dad need to tell you something, I said. Brian looked nervously between Lucy and me. Mom and Dad have decided to live separately, Lucy said. Not because we don't love you, but for reasons between us. What does living separately mean? Brian asked. It means Mom lives at her house, and Dad will stay here with you, I explained. Are you still married? Kids have a way of cutting to the heart of things. No, I answered honestly, but we'll always be your mom and dad. Brian was silent for a while. Is it because I did something wrong? He asked softly. No, Lucy and I said at the same time. It's definitely not because of you. Lucy hugged him. You're the best kid in the world, and we're so proud to have you. Then why are you splitting up? Sometimes grown-ups have differences they can't work out, I said. But it has nothing to do with you. Brian thought for a long moment. Can I still see Mom? Of course, Lucy said. Mom will see you every weekend, and sometimes you can stay at Mom's house. Really? Really? Brian seemed to accept the explanation. Can we go play now? He asked. I want to feed the pigeons at the park. Looking at his innocent face, Lucy and I both breathed a sigh of relief. Maybe for a kid, as long as there's love, nothing else matters. At the park, Brian happily fed the pigeons. Mom, Dad, look, the little pigeons are fighting over food. We sat on a bench watching him. Feelings mixed. He's handling this better than I imagined, Lucy said. Kids adapt quickly. I replied, saying that if we handle it right, he wouldn't be too affected. Thank you, she suddenly said. For what? I asked. For letting me continue to be his mother, she said. I looked at her. He's your son. That's only natural. But a lot of men wouldn't be so understanding, she replied. I'm not doing it to be generous. It's for Brian. He needs a mother's love, I said. She nodded, her eyes a bit teary. I'll try to be a good mom, she said. I believe you, I assured her. The sun set as the three of us walked home. Although our family wasn't whole anymore, Brian's laughter was still as clear and joyful as ever. Maybe this outcome was the best choice for everyone. 3 months later, my life was completely back on track. Work was getting busier with several big projects at once. Brian also fully adapted to the new routine, doing great at his preschool. Every weekend, Lucy would show up on time to pick him up without ever missing a beat. That Friday night, I was working late, drawing, and Brian was already asleep. Suddenly, my phone rang with a call from an unknown number. Is this Daniel? The voice asked. Yes, who's this? I responded. I'm a nurse from downtown hospital. A lady named Lucy had a car accident and is in emergency care. You're listed as her emergency contact, she said. I froze for a moment. Is it serious? I asked. The injuries are pretty severe. She's in the ER. Can you come down? She asked. I'll be right there, I answered. I hung up the phone. My mind went blank. Even though we were divorced, I was still shocked and worried to hear this news. I woke Brian up and quickly took him to our neighbor. Aunt Wong, can you watch Brian for me? It's urgent, I said. Of course, go on, she replied. When I reached the hospital, the light in the ER was still on. Doctor, how's Lucy? I anxiously asked. She's still in surgery, the doctor said. Who are you to her? I hesitated. I'm her son's father. Then please wait, we'll update you as soon as there's news, the doctor said. I sat outside the ER, feeling mixed emotions. Even though our marriage was over, she was still Brian's mother. If anything happened to her, Brian would be devastated. 2 hours later, the ER doors finally opened. Doctor, how is she? I immediately stood up. She's out of immediate danger but seriously injured. She'll need to stay for observation, the doctor said, taking off his mask. I breathed a sigh of relief. Thank you, doctor. She needs a family member to sign some papers, the doctor explained. We're divorced. I'm not sure if I can. You're the child's father, you should be able to. Plus, we can't reach any other family right now, he said. I signed and watched as they wheeled Lucy into her room. Her face was pale, head wrapped in bandages, looking fragile. When will she wake up? I asked the nurse. Soon, once the anesthesia wears off, she assured. I sat by her bed and watched her sleep. This woman, who had once been my wife, was now my son's mother. No matter what happened between us, I didn't want anything bad to happen to her. Half an hour later, she stirred awake. Daniel? She saw me, surprise flickering in her eyes. You're awake, I said. How do you feel? My head hurts, she said, attempting to sit up. Why are you here? The hospital called, said you were in an accident, I explained. She paused. Sorry for the trouble. No trouble, I said, handing her a glass of water. The doctor said you need to stay for a few days. Where's Brian? She asked. At the neighbor's. He doesn't know yet, I replied. Don't tell him. I don't want him to worry, she said. Okay. The room went quiet except for the beeps of the machines. Daniel, she suddenly said. Yeah. Thank you for being here. I'm just making sure Brian doesn't lose his mom, I said. She gave a small smile, I know. You should rest. I'll handle the paperwork for your stay, I said. No, let my assistant do it, she replied. It's late. Don't bother anyone else, I insisted. As I sorted the paperwork, the nurse asked if we needed a caregiver. She's alone. It might be tough for her, the nurse said. After thinking about it, I replied, yeah, please arrange one. When I returned, she was asleep again. I sat for a while to make sure she was okay before leaving. When I got home, it was 3 a.m. I brought Brian back, and he slept soundly, knowing nothing. The next morning, I called the school to let them know Brian wouldn't be there. I took him to see Lucy at the hospital. What's wrong with Mommy? Brian asked on the way. Mommy's not feeling well and needs to stay in the hospital for a bit. I explained simply. Is it bad? No, she'll be just fine, I said. When we got to the room, Lucy was talking to a doctor. Mom! Brian shouted, running to her side. Brian. She held him close, her eyes showing pain but still managing a smile. Why are you sick, Mom? Brian asked, touching her forehead gently. Mommy's okay, just needs some rest, she assured him. Can I stay and take care of you? Brian asked with teary eyes. Brian needs to go to school. Mommy needs to rest, I said. But I want to take care of Mommy, he insisted. Brian is such a good boy, Lucy said, kissing his cheek. I'll come pick you up after I get better. Okay? Okay. Brian smiled through his tears. We stayed for a bit and then I took Brian to school. Dad, is Mom really okay? He asked on the way. She's fine, buddy. The doctor will take care of her, I assured him. Can we see her tomorrow? He asked. We can, I promised. For the next few days, we visited Lucy every day. Even though we were divorced, I felt it was important for Brian to spend time with his mom now. Lucy was recovering well, but the doctor recommended a 1-week minimum stay. I had my assistant cancel all my appointments. She later told me this was a wake-up call. A wake-up call? I asked. I've been so caught up in work, ignoring the important people and things in life. If something had really happened, I'd regret it forever, she said, gazing out the window. I didn't say anything. Daniel, can I ask you something? She said suddenly. What? If you could do it all over again, would you still marry me? This question left me speechless for a long time. No what ifs, I finally said. And if I hadn't married you, we wouldn't have Brian. Do you regret it? I don't regret having Brian, I said, looking at her. But I don't regret the choices I've made now either. She nodded. I see. Lucy, I said, some things happen, and when they do, we just have to move forward. Yeah, she gave a bittersweet smile. I just wanted to know if there's any chance left between us in your heart. There isn't, I replied plainly, but we can be great friends, for Brian's sake. A hint of disappointment flashed in her eyes, but was quickly replaced by acceptance. Okay, being friends is good too. On the day she was discharged, I went to pick her up. Thank you for taking care of me these past few days, she said. No problem. Daniel, she said seriously, I've realized a lot of things. I'll try to be a good mom and respect your choices. Thank you. If you ever run into difficulties or need help, please tell me. We're not married anymore, but I hope we can still be friends. Okay. When the car pulled up in front of my building, Brian was already waiting. Mom, he shouted, running to Lucy. Brian, she exclaimed, picking up her son and spinning him around. Mom, are you all better now? Completely better. Then let's go to the park. Okay. Watching the two of them happy together, I thought to myself, maybe this is a good ending. We can't be a couple, but we can be friends. For Brian, and for the good memories we once shared. 6 months later, I met a really nice woman at an art exhibit. Her name's Linda. She's a writer, kind, funny, and loves kids. Brian took to her right away. Dad, is Linda going to live with us? Brian asked me one day. Do you want that? I replied. Yes, he said without hesitation. Linda is great, and she tells me lots of awesome stories. When I shared the news with Lucy, she was silent for a long time. Is she a good person? She eventually asked. Yes, I said. She's great with Brian. That's good. She nodded. Brian needs a complete family. And what about you? I asked. Have you thought about starting over? Not yet. She shook her head. I might need more time. You'll find the right person, I said. Maybe.